Hey everyone, I wanted to talk to you all about a little bit more about the middleman contract. Middleman contracts, pass-through strategy, using subcontractors, all of those things after the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. Yeah, so a lot of questions are coming up, of course, about middleman and the truth about middleman contracts. I did a video, I will link it in the description if you haven't seen the first one, but I just want to elaborate on it a little bit more because I have two situations where it was supposed to be used as middleman and it backfired on my behind because of federal contracting. So I want to quickly explain what middleman strategy really is from my lens and elaborate more about the federal contracts and federal law. So middleman contracts, from what I understand and how a lot of people are trying to utilize them, any contract that you're able to procure or you're able to win, you get someone to perform the contract, whether you go to that location or not, and that you pay them, you invoice, you do no work, you do nothing but submit the invoice, and you live happily ever after. That is very, very, very possible. I have several contracts like that where I've never even been in that area, never been in that location whatsoever, never touched the broom, never picked up a piece of litter, never scrubbed the toilet for that location, never pressure washed anything, and it can very well be done. However, there are very, very strict parameters when it comes to federal contracting. So when you're going into submitting for a federal contract, now I don't know if most of the middleman strategies are being used at the local side. It's a lot easier to do that strategy with the local side because typically the agency, the county, city, or the school system has no idea who you're using. They don't even care. Some do. Some of them will actually have in the bidding documents, they need to know who the sub is, and you cannot have a sub unless you let them know ahead of time, meaning you can't win and then go find someone because they're going to ask, who is this person, who is this company, and especially if this sub is not someone that you work with and they don't know how you get down and that they can't be wearing their company name, and that's going to be confusing for the agency that you're working for, that you have a whole other company in there doing the work and they did not authorize that subcontractor to do the work. And so you have a problem there on the local side. Now on the federal side, if you read the FAR when it comes to subcontracting, depending on what industry you're in construction, you can sub out about 85% of the work. However, there's also parameters within the FAR where it states if 15% of what you're going to do as the prime is related to a specialty skill that cannot be subbed out, you have now been in violation of the FAR. So what that really means is, say Sheena's company is bidding on a contract and using another company, another larger company that has done this work, and we're going to be using that strategy where they can't get the contract without me. They are, I'm basically like the broker or the middle person between this company that I'm working with, who's going to be my sub, but they're the larger company, and this agency who needs the work. Let's say it's Veterans Affairs. Just one example. I'm not saying that really happened, but let's just say that I'm going to be the middle woman, and it's a contract for millions of dollars, especially when it's the higher the amount, the more risk that you take. So if you are going to be using that strategy and it's construction, you can sub out 85% of the work. So that means that 85% of the work is going to go to the sub that I'm going to use because they're the company that actually does the construction and not necessarily me. And 15% of what I'm going to be doing is supposed to be within standard. However, depending on the price points of what is laid out in this proposal that was submitted, some of those percentages, that 15% that I'm only responsible for, may still include a specialty skill that I said that I can do. So how do you get around that, Sheena? Glad you asked. So what you can do to get around that is to hire someone on your staff that can do that specialty skill. Say that it takes you down to, okay, you have 15% that you're obligated to, and then you're going to pay that particular human being 6% of whatever that amount, whatever the 15%, you pay that person 6% of whatever that amount is. So now you have this person on your staff whom you have to pay, whom you don't know, and they're going to be working for you. Can it work? Absolutely. Can it go all to hell? Absolutely. So my cautionary tale is, even before you get to the award, if you are putting in that you're using a sub and it looks like you're overly dependent, this is actual words that is in the FAR, overly dependent on your subcontractor, you will be flagged and you will not win that contract. This has happened to me a couple of times. So I want to be transparent. I want to give real examples of what's going on out here in these government contracting streets, because a lot of people are saying you can do this. Yeah, you can do that. I do that. However, you have to be very, very clear on what you're bidding on, what the solicitation is. It takes a lot of manpower and a lot of money to put together a proposal just for the agency to say, oh, you are overly dependent on your sub. There's no way we're going to award you this contract. And now you're looking crazy. Now, again, are there ways around all of these things? Absolutely. You could just say, my company is going to do everything. There's going to be no subs. And then they get on site and one of the workers of the sub is like, oh, I work for ABC company, but then Sheena's company is 123 company. And they're like, well, what's going on? This doesn't seem like it's a real company that has all their employees. Everyone's not wearing a uniform, and you know you can't require 1099 workers to wear uniforms. So that's a whole nother thing that you would have to think about, and especially if it's in a location where you're not located. So who's going to be checking on these people every day? It's really, really tricky to just use a strategy where you're using other people from a legal perspective. So if we go to just the common sense perspective, remember, if you're hiring subs, they are the representative of your company. If you don't know them, how do you know that they're going to do what you need them to do? I'm just saying, it's really, really tricky to bring in a company that you don't know. They don't know you. You don't know how they do their business. You don't know if they're going to try to go behind your back and steal the contract and just say, hey, I'm the one that's really doing the work. You don't even need Sheena's company anymore. You can just use my company. That is like one of the most common things that happens. Now you can put documents in place like an NDA, a non-compete and all that, but really, does that really mean anything? I mean, they are doing the work. So you can take it all the way to court and you may or may not win, but just remember, like, you're still putting a stain on your business if this company comes in and doesn't do what they're supposed to do. They don't perform. They complain. There's so many things that happen behind the scenes if you're not there boots on ground every day. Now, I'm not on my sites, obviously, every day boots on ground, but I have a very, very strong rapport with all of my contractors throughout the whole East Coast. We have contracts throughout the whole East Coast, and I have people that I really, really strongly trust. Do things happen? Absolutely. This is a human-based business, and I'm in the business of services, so there's definitely a lot of human factors in there, but you have to make sure you're not just saying, I want to do a pass-through, and pass-through is completely illegal, but I want to do middleman, and then you're just letting someone else basically represent your business. So I think I beat a dead horse enough, and I just wanted you all to know that you can do contracts in that specific way, but legally there are very, very strict parameters on how much subcontracting you can do if you're telling them from the beginning, if you're telling the government from the beginning what you're going to do, and then if they come in after the fact and you didn't tell them that you're going to have subcontractors and the subcontractors are wearing their shirts, ABC company, and they're just representing their company to the fullest, and no, your company is nowhere to be found, you could definitely get yourself in a whole lot of hot water, and there will be a lot of questions there because that means that you lied on your solicitation. That's on the federal and the local side. When you're looking to network and you're looking to find subcontractors, it's good to build that relationship long before you win anything. If possible, sometimes it's not possible because if you win something out of state like I did and I had to make friends on the fly, just make sure you're having these people, these contractors, follow your parameters and follow your methods, and they can invite them to use some of their own best methods as well, but they need to be following whatever your company represents and your morals and your tactics and your ways to deal with client unsatisfaction, quick response. We are definitely, for my company, Foresight Industries, we are quick responders, and we have so much customer satisfaction because we listen and we respond, and that's something that a lot of companies don't do. So if you have a company that you're using and they just ignore what the client is saying and you think everything is hunky-dory because the client hasn't said anything to you, all they're going to do is boot you off the contract. They're not going to give you the second option year. It's a little more challenging to remove you from the contract mid-contract unless it's just absolutely terrible. But they won't renew you for an option year. And everyone's goal is to have a 5-year plus contract if it's a good contract, so we can make all this money and live happily ever after. So just make sure that you're following all of the parameters you normally would when you're hiring an employee and building those strong relationships long before you need them. And this is Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Until next time.